Hi everyone. In this video I am going to explain you about long distance transport in plants. Long distance transport. Long distance transport of substances within a plant cannot be by diffusion alone. Reasons. Diffusion is a very slow process. It can account for only short distance movement of molecules. For example, the movement of a molecule across a typical plant cell, which is about 50 micrometers, takes approximately 2.5 seconds. Sometimes the site of production or absorption and sites of storage are too far from each other. Thus, diffusion and active transport would not sufficient. Therefore, special long distance transport systems become necessary so as to move substances across long distances and at a much faster rate. Water, minerals, and food are generally moved by a mass or bulk flow system. Bulk or mass flow is totally different from diffusion. Mass flow or bulk flow, it is the movement of substances in bulk or mass from one point to another point as a result of pressure differences between the 2 points. It is a characteristic of mass flow that substances, whether in solution or in suspension, are swept along at the same pace as in a flowing river. Coming to diffusion, in diffusion, different substances move independently depending on their concentration gradient. Bulk flow can be achieved either through any of the following. Very first one, positive hydrostatic pressure gradient. Example, garden hose. Negative hydrostatic pressure gradient. Example, suction through a straw. How do plants absorb water? The roots absorb most of the water that goes into plants. The responsibility of absorption of water and minerals is more specifically the function of the root hairs that are present in millions at the tips of roots. Water is absorbed along with mineral solutes by the root hairs purely by diffusion. Once water is absorbed by the root hairs, it can move deeper into root layers by two distinct pathways. The very first one is apoplast pathway, the very second one is symplast pathway. Apoplast pathway. The apoplast is the system of adjacent cell walls that is continuous throughout the plant except at the Casparian strips of the endodermis in the roots. Features of apoplast pathway. The apoplastic movement of water occurs exclusively through the intercellular spaces and the walls of the cells. Movement through the apoplast does not involve crossing the cell membrane. This movement is dependent on water potential gradient. The apoplast does not provide any barrier to water movement, and water movement is through mass flow. Mechanism or driving force for apoplastic movement. As water evaporates into the intercellular spaces or the atmosphere, tension develops in the continuous stream of water in the apoplast. Hence, mass flow of water occurs due to the adhesive and cohesive properties of water. Symplast pathway. The symplastic system is the system of interconnected protoplasts. Neighboring cells are connected through cytoplasmic strands that extend through plasmodesmata. Features of symplast pathway. The water travels through the cells, that means through their cytoplasm. Intercellular movement is through the plasmodesmata. Movement through the symplast involve crossing the cell membrane. Hence, the movement is relatively slower. Symplastic movement occurs down a potential gradient. Symplastic movement may be aided by cytoplasmic streaming. Example, cells of hydrilla leaf. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of pathway of water movement in the root. The very first one, symplast. Symplast is the water movement which occurs into the cell and it goes into another cell through plasmodesmata. In apoplast pathway, water moves from one place to another place through cell walls. Living system involved in symplast pathway, but no living system involved in apoplast pathway. Let's check the diagrammatic representation of pathway of water movement in the root. Check it carefully. Some facts about water absorption. In young roots, water enters directly into the xylem vessels and are xylem tracheids. These are non-living conduits, are canals, are tubes, and so are parts of the apoplast. Some plants have additional structures associated with them that help in water and mineral absorption. Such structures called mycorrhiza. It is a symbiotic association of fungus with a root system. In this association, fungus provides minerals and water to the root. In turn, the roots provide sugars and nitrogen containing compounds to the fungus. Example, pinus seeds cannot germinate and establish without the presence of mycorrhiza, which means obligate symbiotic association.